Right. All right. So friends, today we're going to see together the different degrees of adjectives, because we have previously seen together that an adjective is a word that modifies or describes or qualifies a noun or a pronoun. So you're using an adjective. If you want to basically talk about the quality of an adjective, a noun or a pronoun, you really need to use an adjective. And when we talk about our adjective are basically of 3 different degrees. So we call them as the positive degree, we call them as the comparative degree, and then we also have what we call the superlative degree. I just want to make sure if my screen is shared with the friends.
Yes, it's okay for me.
Okay,
Yes.
great. First of all, if you are talking about the quality of a noun and pronoun without comparing, you will always need to use the positive degree. For example, we can say, it's a nice mug. For example, it's a black wallet. Or for example, he is an intelligent student. She is a beautiful lady. Whenever you talk about the quality or whenever you describe a noun or a pronoun, you are needing a positive adjective. Please keep in mind that for a positive adjective, we basically do not compare at all. We only describe it. Therefore, if you would like to compare, then we will have to use the comparative adjective, and the comparative adjective are used to compare 2 things, places, or people with 2 or more than 2. Imagine I've got 2 markers. I have got a green marker and I've got a red marker. If I compare both of them together, then I'll have to use a comparative adjective. I can say my green marker is newer than the red marker. I'm comparing one marker with another marker. So I'll have to use the comparative form of adjective by saying my green marker is newer than the red marker. And then we have got the 3rd degree. In the 3rd degree of adjective, what do we basically do? We compare, as long as we compare one person, one place, or one thing with a group of people, person, places, or things. So when you basically compare one person, one place, or one thing with a group of person, with a group of people, with a group of people, places, or things. Imagine if I'm having 4 markers, but if I'm comparing one marker with all my markers, then I'll have to use the superlative form of adjective by saying my black marker is the newest of all my markers. So therefore, if you want to say as an adjective, so we can say, for example, we can simply say, for example, new. New is known to be as a positive adjective, as we are not actually comparing it with anything. So new is the comparative adjective. But if you have to compare 2 places, 2 people, or 2 things, then you have to say newer. And that is in the comparative form, and comparative form is mainly is composed of the verb in the adjective in the comparative form plus than. My green marker is newer than my red marker. So there should always be a than in order to compare. Then if you want to compare one person, place, or people with a group of thing, person, or people, then you will say the newest. So which means there should be a the in order to make it in the superlative form. So the newest. That's it. So this is the 3 different degrees of adjectives. And what is really important is to understand a little bit the spelling rule for comparative adjective and superlative adjective. And to know the spelling rule for that, I would like to basically tell you how are different degrees used. So we can simply put this as comparative spelling rule. And we can say here as superlative or superlative spelling rules. And if you want to change a comparative into superlative, or if you want to really use the comparative and superlative form, you should know the syllable of your adjective. It's very important that you should know how many syllables are your adjective. Is it a one-syllable adjective? Is it a two-syllable adjective? Or is it a three? Or is it even more than three-syllable adjectives? So for that, what am I going to do? I'm going to talk about the spelling rules. So the spelling rule, first of all, for the comparative adjective, we say for all one-syllable adjectives, add ER. So for all one-syllable adjective in the comparative form, add ER. So, for example, we can say nice. That will become nicer. You have other adjectives such as, for example, you've got short, then it will be shorter. In the same category, if you would like to form a superlative adjective, for the superlative adjective, we say for all one-syllable adjectives, in the comparative form, we say ER, but in the superlative adjective, we say add what? EST. As we said, the two adjectives for in comparative, we said nice, nicer, but in superlative, we will say nice will become the nicest. And short becomes the shortest. I would like to remind everybody that short, nice, basically nice is the positive adjective. Nice is the positive adjective, nicer is the comparative form, and the nicest is going to be the superlative form of adjective.
And you can even say that nicer, it's nicer than.
You can definitely say, yeah, I think it's good to add that. We can definitely say nicer than. So this than is an obligation for the comparative form, or shorter than. That is actually something important to take into consideration. And likewise, if you would like to use the adjective in the superlative form, the definite article is very important here. Then, friends, spelling rule number 2. We say so for rule number 2, we can simply say, or we can say adjectives ending with, okay, I'm not talking about one syllable adjective. So it can be all adjectives. So it can be one syllable adjective, two syllable adjective, three syllable adjective. So all adjectives ending with a Y. So we say change the Y into I and add ER. For example, we can say lazy. We can say, for example, pretty. We can say, for example, healthy. So lazy, as the adjective is ending with Y change to I and you add ER. So it becomes what? It becomes lazier. Pretty becomes prettier. And of course, don't forget that in the comparative form, you should always put the word than. And then healthy becomes healthier. Can I please remind everybody that a lot of people makes mistake by saying that you are more pretty than me. This is wrong because pretty is a comparative form. You should not say you're more pretty than me. You have to simply say you are prettier than me. So you are more pretty than me is wrong. But a lot of people say, well, look at her. She's more pretty than her sister.
Because we learned with the two syllables.
Yeah.
It was more or less.
We are coming to that. We are coming to that. But to that, you should not forget that, yes, for example, lazy is one syllable, but pretty is two syllable, healthy is a two syllable, but it's actually more about the why that we are focusing a lot. All the adjective, one syllable, two syllable, three syllable adjectives that are ending with Y, you simply have to change Y into I and you add ER. And I'm just going to make it simple for the superlative. For the superlative case, we will simply say, we say exactly the same thing, but the only thing that changes is the fact, okay, the only thing that changes, we say, all adjective ending with Y, change the Y into I and add EST. Exactly. So just by saying the word lazy become what? Lazy become the laziest. Then we have got, for example, pretty, the prettiest. Then we have got the word healthy become the healthiest. Just to make sure those who have previously attended this class, in order to understand that they still remember it well or not, I have just one little question for Leontine. Leontine, what is the comparative form of shy? Shyer. And how do you spell that? We spell it with S-H-I-E-R, like that?
I think no.
No.
S-H-Y-E-R.
Y-E-R, exactly. So you have a good memory, and please note that we have got only one exception. There's only one exception, the adjective shy. We are not applying the same rule because shy is a one syllable adjective ending with Y, so Y does not go into Y. So we simply say shy becomes what? Shyer. And we do not change the Y. And this is exactly the same case when it comes to the superlative form as well. So we say shy, and in the superlative, it would be the shyest. Okay. Then, friends, we will proceed with some more help. And then we say, in case if you've got, okay, adjectives with two or more than two syllable, takes more or less before the adjective. For example, we say intelligent. Intelligent is a three syllable adjective. So for adjectives which are three, two, or more than three syllable, we simply either make it in the positive form by saying more intelligent, or you can simply say, for example, we say beautiful. You can say less beautiful. Please take into consideration that after using more or less, you have to use the simple form of the adjective. And this is exactly the same thing. If you are talking about adjectives in the superlative form, so we say all those adjectives that end with two or more than two syllable, in changing it into superlative, we will say the most or the least. And we have to use before the adjective. So we have an adjective, for example, intelligent. In the positive, we say the most intelligent. And in the negative, for example, beautiful, we can say the least beautiful. So as you can see in the comparative form, it is actually more or less. And in the superlative form, it is actually going to be the most or the least. I'm just finishing up with the spelling rule just by giving you the last rule. And the last rule is all the way okay, I think that'll be fine. Let's forget about that. The last rule that we have for the spelling in the superlative form, it's about rule number 4. I'm sure you may have paid attention to some adjectives. We say adjectives. Well, it's mainly the case in one-syllable adjectives. So one-syllable adjectives that ends with a consonant and the letter before is a vowel. Okay, so what do? The last consonant is doubled. For example, you have the adjective such as fat. A fat, because the adjective fat ends with T. T is consonant. The letter before that is a vowel. Therefore, the last T should be double. So instead of fat, we say fatter. So it's going to be with double T. You've got the word such as thin, and that will be written as THINNER, thinner. And that is exactly the same rule for the superlative form of adjective. So for the superlative form of adjective, we say one-syllable adjective that ends with a consonant and the letter before is a vowel. The last consonant is doubled. So therefore, we say fat. It's going to be the fattest. And we've got thin. That is going to be the thinnest. And then finally, just before I finish, you have one last rules. As you know, when it comes to the verb, when it comes to adjective, when it comes to adverb, you always call something which is called the irregular adjectives. And there are some irregular adjectives in the comparative form, and there are also some irregular adjective in the superlative form. So in the comparative form, you can say, for example, you have got adjectives such as good. The comparative form of good is what? Is better in the comparative form first. So it's going to be better. And then if we have to see that in the superlative form, so we say good becomes what? The best. Then you've got another one, so the opposite of good, you've got bad, and the bad is actually worse in the comparative form. And then you've got bad in the comparative positive form, and in the comparative form, it's going to be the worst. Then you also have other verbs, other adjectives such as old becomes elder. And in the superlative form, it becomes the eldest. Then you've got other adjectives such as far. It can be further or further. Both of them are possible. And then you have far. You've got the furthest or the furthest. That's it. So these are some of the spelling rules that you have to concentrate while changing a comparative form, while changing a positive adjective into comparative form. What's that?
No order.
Yeah. I wrote order.
Order.
Yeah, older, the eldest. Oh no, sorry, you're very right. In the positive form. Yes, very good. Old become the eldest. So it's old, elder, the eldest. Okay, so once you learn this, now let's go on and make some examples using comparative adjective. And then I'll invite you for a little exercise, and that's it. So let's make, for example, a sentence. For example, James is a really intelligent man. James is really an intelligent man, as you all know. Intelligent is an adjective which basically qualifies, modifies a noun, which is the man. And you already know that adjective in English, all the adjectives should come before the noun, which is not the similar thing in French, because in French, we normally say, James is a man intelligent. That's French, but in English, we always say, James is an intelligent man. We don't have to capitalize the word man. So right now, I'm only talking about the quality of James. But if I'm actually comparing James with Mike, then I have to use a comparative adjective. So we say James is more intelligent than Mike. So because we have intelligent, so therefore it's a 3-syllable adjective, so we're going to add more or less. Or we can say, for example, Anna is prettier than who? Anna is prettier than Mary. Not the Mary in our class, other Mary, right? Anna is prettier than Mary. Or you can simply say, so it's prettier in the comparative form. Or you can say, for example, this room is bigger than that room. This room is bigger in that room. So this bigger can also go into the rules of doubling. So I can double the word by bigger. So just saying big, it will be bigger. And then here we say big, it will be the biggest. All right, so you basically see here with all adjectives in the comparative form, we say James is more intelligent than Mike. Anna is prettier than Mary. And sorry, this room is bigger than that classroom. Absolutely. So bigger. And then if you want to make it in the superlative form, so this is going to be positive degree. Then you've got comparative degree. And now let's make some example with the superlative degree. And we have an example such as, for example, James is the most intelligent man or student in the class. So in the class, there might be many students, but I'm comparing James with all the students. So the most intelligent. Rabah? Yeah, that's not a problem. You can use all of them. You can use the positive, comparative, and superlative form in the negative and in the question. That's not a problem. So James is not, for example, James is not the most intelligent student in the class. So you're comparing one who's not the only intelligent man in the class. I prefer keeping it in positive, but yes, you do have the possibility to change it into negative. All right, then you can say, for example, Anna is the prettiest girl in the family. In the family, there might be many girls, but if you're comparing one girl with all the girls in the family, you say Anna is the prettiest girl in the family. The prettiest with a T. Then you have in the superlative form, you will simply say that, for example, this is the biggest room in this class. This is the biggest room in the class, so the biggest is going to be the superlative form. Okay, I'm just going to hand you an exercise, but before I hand you an exercise, I would like to simply talk about one important thing, and that is only about the comparative form. Imagine if you have two people in the same category. We can say James is an intelligent man or an intelligent student. And then you've got also Mike is an intelligent student. So if you are talking about two people being in the same situation, if you're talking about two places being in the same situation, for example, London is crowded, Paris is crowded. Okay, so if you're talking about two people, two things, or two places being in the same context, then we have got something called, if you want to merge them together, you will have to use as plus adjective plus as. Can I remind you that in this case, we have to use the positive form of the adjective. What do we say now? Leontine? Mike is as James. Mike is as intelligent as James. Absolutely. So in this case, we don't repeat the adjective and we don't basically use it in the comparative or superlative form. We use it in the positive form. You can also use this structure as plus as in the negative form as well, but that will not be the same meaning. For example, Mike is not as intelligent as James. So in this sentence, we say James is more intelligent. And then we've got another example here. We say London is crowded, Paris is crowded. So we say London is as crowded as Paris. Okay, that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about, the comparative and superlative. Maybe I can take some question if you have some question. Is everything clear for you? All right, so what I'm going to do for Leontine and for Farrell, I'm going to give one-page exercise, but for you, Jack, and for you, Braba, I'm going to give you several pages of exercise because we have already done that. So I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to distribute the exercise page.
It was interesting to see that point because, for example, I didn't remember the second point. And as everybody, as I said, is more easy than the present